Hello and welcome everyone to the Why We Endure podcast, the show where I interview ordinary people that do extraordinary things and ask them the only question that I think really matters, which is why. I'm your host, Chester Allen, and today I'm joined by Edwin Mooney. Welcome, Edwin. How are you?
Hey Chester, yeah, no, I'm doing very well, thank you.
Good to hear, man. Look, just for the listeners as well, Edwin and I have known each other for 3 years,
About three
probably.
years, yeah.
Yeah, about 3 years, through a mutual friend. This man is an absolute nutter, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation and getting into it. But Edwin, for those that don't know you, give us a little bit of background on yourself. Like, who are you, where are you from, and what's your sort of average week look like?
Yeah, so I'm originally from South Africa. I moved over to London just over 10 years ago. Um, since a very young age, I've always been into sports. Parents pushed me to do sports, um, and sort of took a liking to cycling and running in particular. Did a lot of swimming as well, but I didn't really enjoy that as much. Probably because of the 5 a.m. training sessions, and the cold in the morning. But yeah, sort of did a lot of cycling primarily through sort of junior into uni and stuff like that, and a little bit of running. But then moving over to London, sort of with the job was a bit difficult, and that sort of fell off the radar a little bit. But yeah, picked it up again after realizing I was becoming way too lazy. Um, I needed to sort myself out. Put on about 10 kilos, I think.
Really? Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I was like, yeah, better shave the kilos. So yeah, I just joined I was living at the time Northwest London. Joined a local running club there, Queen's Park Harriers. Very,
Nice.
very nice running club. No pressure or anything like that. Just started training. Didn't think, I was going to be very fast or anything. But yeah, I just chipped away at it for a couple years and eventually got the legs back. Got back into the cycling. Realized the muscle memory was still there, which was good.
Nice.
Um, yeah, and nowadays, sort of, I just try and maintain a bit of fitness. In the week, uh, about 3, 4 gym sessions if I can. Um, Couple runs and then couple cycles as well, if I can, if the job allows it and the socializing. But yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
So let's be honest, you're a busy man physically, and then so what's work for you? Is that quite a demanding job, or is that office space? What sort of what are you into?
Yeah, it's mostly office space, fairly demanding as well. We are sort of very lucky in that the work-life balance is sort of really good at this job. So it does give me time to head to the gym or go for a run after work, quite easily, which is very good because I feel like I need that. I start getting very grumpy if I've not done sport for more than 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And then my poor girlfriend gets the other end of that stick, which is yeah.
Yeah, they often do, unfortunately, and yeah, it's like a Labrador. You've got to take them for a walk every day, otherwise they get a bit itchy and start nibbling on the sofa. So I'm not saying that you
Yeah.
choose sofas, but so mate, so you just tell me a little bit. So I want to rewind slightly because not everyone listening to this would have been to South Africa or is South African themselves. So when did you move, and how old were you when you migrated or immigrated even?
Um, so I'm 36 now. My birthday was on Sunday.
Happy birthday.
So I moved over
I
when I
sent you
was
a message.
26. Yeah. I moved over when I was 26. Yeah, and like I said, I was very unfit at that time. But coming from South Africa, it's very sporty. You got mountains on your doorstep pretty much. Nice roads for cycling in Cape Town, where I was anyway. It's not
Yeah.
like that everywhere, but Cape Town is a beautiful place for cycling and just outdoor sports in general, trail running, road running. Um, so yeah, mountain biking. I did a lot of mountain biking as well. So yeah, it's just I think that's sort of or kept me fit, is being able to, is having access to all of those, routes and things. Um, and then yeah, moved over when I was 26, like I said. And then finding my feet in London was a bit tricky, and looking for jobs and things, are sort of the sport sort of fell to the wayside, and I was more focused on the job and finding a good job and getting settled. Um,
Naturally, yeah.
Also, yeah, and also my bike wasn't in a good state, so then I started building it up and fixing it, and yeah, so it took a while before I sort of got into the sport again after moving across.
And so, growing up in South Africa in Cape Town, paint us a bit of a picture. What was that like? Was that just because I picture South African as a rugby and cricket mad, but also obviously just addicted to sport. So like from a young age, were your parents like quite not forceful, but were they quite like, hey, get out the door and go and expend some energy elsewhere, sort of thing, or were you
Yeah,
self-driven?
yeah, well, actually, grew up in Durban. I
Okay,
spent the sort of latter part of my South African time in Cape Town, but
got you.
my sort of up till 18, I was in Durban. And that's where I sort of found my love for road cycling. But throughout primary school, I was doing cricket, football, swimming, doing a bit of everything, and sort of doing well. Well enough at all of those, but not like the best, as it were. Um, and my dad, I think he was one of the first mountain bikers, or at the time in South Africa. He sort of was formed part of that very early mountain bike community, riding steel frames and rigid steel forks kind of thing. So
Fucking
I used
pig
to go as a
iron.
kid, and exactly. So I used to go and watch all the races and everything, but it's still a question I ask myself today. I never sort of got into it, even though he was doing it. It took me ages before I actually then was interested in like getting a mountain bike and starting to ride like with him. Maybe that's because of my commitments at school and like getting into cricket, swimming, all those things. I was too busy doing all of that, and then not sort of thinking too much about the cycling. But then, yeah, I started running also quite probably 12, 13 years old. Um, and then started enjoying that, started breaking a few cross country records at my primary school,
Nice.
which, that sort of, I think was the spark. I was like, hang on, this is actually pretty good. Um, and then got to high school, and then thrown in the ocean just became like dropped a level down again and was really bad again. And then started work my way to the top again over the years. So I started doing really well across country sort of towards the end of high school. And the same with cycling. I sort of dropped all the cricket, the football, and everything, and started focusing on the cycling. I think I eventually realized, hang on, this is actually quite a fun sport. Um, and joined a cycling team eventually, Mr. Price Cycling. They sponsored me, kits,
Ooh,
race entries, supplements, and everything.
that's insane. Because they sponsored the Sharks as well. Probably
Yes,
around the time you were there. Because I went on loan down there and saw the Sharks, and Mr. Price were everywhere. So that's a pretty cool sponsor to have. How did you get that?
yeah, I think I was obviously just uh, cycling and, with some of my buddies at school, and then started entering the races, started doing quite well in the races. And then one of the people from Mr. Price saw me at the event and was like, would you be interested in sort of riding for our team, but just as like we'll give you some kit and you can ride with us and train with us. And if you're good enough, we can, you can get onto the team, because it's not just straight into the team. They only take like 6 junior riders, and then that forms like the core team. And then they have about a pool of, whatever, 10, 15 riders. So yeah, I got into it. I started doing well at some of the races, podium finishes. Um,
Go on, son.
and then yeah, just became pretty much addicted to cycling.
And then
Um,
decided, right, I'm going to become a racing snake, and that's it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's it. Waking up, for at school. Now that I think about it, geez, I don't think I could do that nowadays. But waking up, 10 to 4 every single morning before school, going out for 2, 3 hours on the bike, getting to school, full day at school, getting home, change, go cross country training. And I'm like, it's just, as a kid, I'm impressed at how much energy I had.
Mate,
It's like
the
crazy.
battery, the battery on kids is actually insane. Have you noticed that, as you got older, obviously you're still a very active man, but have
Yeah.
you noticed that sort of energy level? But actually, it's not energy level, it's recovery time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think,
I
has
think
that
that's
dropped
it.
off a little bit? You're not still
I
getting up 10 to 4, are you?
No, exactly. And I'm questioning that sometimes. I do wonder if it's just because I was training so frequently and so regularly, did my body just get used to it? And that was the norm. Whereas nowadays, I'm only training a handful of times a week, and it's just that upkeep. I've lost that upkeep, but I don't know. I do think as a teenager, you have a bit more spring in your step.
100%, mate.
Yeah,
The knees, the hips, the back, the ankles haven't taken an absolute battering. But so
yeah,
look, that brings us quite nicely. So there's a real strong foundation there, right? Like you were very
yeah,
successful as a sportsman early on in your career in South Africa. You got
yeah.
noticed, you were sponsored, cycling and running with your things. You're really building the foundations to become a great triathlete. I see the Ironman t-shirt on there as well. So take us through your, I was going to say portfolio, but I think CV is probably more fitting. So
Yeah.
what's the sort of stuff that you've covered? Why are we talking today, basically?
I think like after that period, juniors and racing, got towards the end of school, where I just missed qualifying for Commonwealth Games, which was sad. But
Oh,
I know one place. We went to a
one
big training
place.
camp, and
Oh,
I think that demoralized me a bit. But I was like, I'm going to uni. It's fine.
in what sport was that? Sorry,
Cycling,
that was
yeah,
in cycling, and that was road cycling, velodrome.
road cycling, yeah. So basically, over 5 days, they took about 60 of us to the Drakensberg Mountains sort of area, and they run a training camp for the juniors where they eventually pick just 10 riders to form the team for that games. And there was myself and two others were reserved, so it was like a bit like by the end of it, I was broken and mentally and physically like broken. But that was, directly before uni, so I sort of was distracted by that. I was like, I knew I was going to uni and that I would have to work hard, so it wasn't as bad as, I remember.
Nice.
But yeah, I think, and then getting to uni, I made a lot of friends in the cycling community. That was still my sort of primary sport. And still doing, quite a bit of running. I had, good 5Ks and things, but focusing mainly on the cycling aspect. And one day, one of my friends, as a joke, was like, "Oh, do you want to do this race? We've had a guy pull out. It's 240-kilometer mountain bike race." And I think the furthest mountain bike race I'd done until that point was about 80 kilometers.
Shit.
Um, so I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. You're like crazy. We had like a house party or something, and I was a bit drunk, and I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that.
Really? I'm
Um,
surprised you didn't go, hell yeah.
yeah, I
Let's
know.
do
I
it.
was like, are you mad? Like 240 kilometers? Are you crazy? Especially mountain biking. It's obviously a different beast to road cycling, which is nice and I won't say easy, but it's yeah, it's
Smoother
challenging.
surfaces.
Yeah, it's why I prefer road cycling. I don't get dirty. Um,
You princess.
and then I think a few weeks later, same scenario again out on the town, and he was like, "Are you sure you don't want to do this race? It'll be really fun. They have food stations, and it'll be banter."
Oh, free food. Yeah,
So
sure, I'm in.
yeah, so I said yes, and did far too little training for it. Um, and yeah, it was a pretty tough experience. We had one guy as well on the team who was um, didn't do any training, and he suffered dearly as a result. But we all
Yeah.
got through to the end.
Wow.
Something like 13 and a half hours, I think it was, for 240 kilometers, and we were all absolutely broken. But like fast forward like a few years, we did the same race, but just myself and the same guy who asked me, just the two of us, and we did 9 hours 40 or something like that. So, or 9:50, I think.
I was
So we
just walk in the
shaved
park
like
then.
a big chunk of time off. So yeah, but also like uh, I learned some tough lessons doing those. I agreed as well to do a double century, which is a 200-kilometer team time trial. Again, my sort of prior history and everything, I think I had a bit of arrogance going into it. I was like, oh, 200K team time trial, that's easy. But you get there and it's, 36 degrees Celsius on the day. Um, you know, blood sugar was all over the place. Didn't finish my first one. I got sent in the ambulance actually. I remember that I took a gel from my mate at about 160K, and 5K later I was on the floor, like couldn't even move. Yeah, didn't finish the race. So that was a bit of an eye-opening experience. And then I said to myself, okay, maybe for the next one we should train a bit more than, the odd ride here and there. So yeah, I put in the time, and I think the next one we ended up coming about 13th overall out of about 300 teams.
Nice.
Um, so yeah, again, just learned some important lessons and changed the training and was more dedicated. So yeah, um, that was a
So
really
that
good event.
so was that your first? No, because the mountain bike really was your first intro into real endurance, right? You know,
Yes, yeah,
so the first one, 13 hours on the tools. That's a serious shift. So that's not that's the definition of type 2 fun, right? You were not
yeah,
having
yeah,
fun during that, and then afterwards you were like, in a weird way, I kind of want to go again, and you did,
yeah.
and then you did it in 9 hours. So then, after that, what was next, and what happened? Did you get more into running? Did you stay on the cycling route?
I stayed on the cycling route for a while. So I was in Cape Town for about 7 or 8 years. And that whole time I was part of the UCT, which is my university, the UCT Cycling Club. Um, and we built them up. I had a friend who was a really, really good cyclist, Ed Green. Myself, another guy, Bruce Hughes, he built the team up. A lot of other people as well, which, I won't mention all the names, but um, got the team to a really good position, got strong sponsors, were sponsored by like an investment firm. They put a lot of money into the university cycling team. So it went from like zero to having, a good amount of money in the bank account, sponsored kit, supplements as well. So we were essentially like a mini team, sponsored team.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I was doing that throughout uni, and a little bit after uni as well. I still stayed with them. They welcomed alumni to still be part of the team, which was really
cool.
good. Just to keep the sort of depth of knowledge and experience in the team. Obviously, we favored the uni students, but just to build up the numbers, we had some of the old guys as well.
And
Um,
install a bit of culture, right? You sort of created that, made that. They probably want the founding fathers to still have a little touch on that before, it
yeah,
really bleeds into the university culture.
exactly. A bit of a handover period as well.
Yeah.
But then slowly but surely, yeah, we all go our ways, and the job gets hectic. You move to maybe different places like I did, and things happen. But yeah, I remained cycling through that period. I started dabbling in like the half marathons and things at uni. Um, First half marathon as well. Didn't really train much for it, and couldn't walk for about 2 weeks properly. Again, I learned the hard way with all of these events. Just go in with no training and just suffer.
Blind
I
optimism.
must have enjoyed the suffering, I think, from the cycling, because I learned to suffer there. But yeah, I mean, started dabbling in the running, and got like I think I got a 16 something 5K, and I was like, oh, I can actually run. Um, so
Sorry. What? A
Yeah,
16 something 5K?
yeah. We did this like time trial, 5K time trial, weekly time trial, and I think my first one, I don't know what it was, maybe 19 minutes or something. And my friend was like, "Oh, I bet you can't beat Lance Armstrong's time for a 5K." And I was like, "Oh, what did he run?" And he was like, I can't remember what it was exactly, like 1750 or something like that. And I was like, "I'm sure I can do that." So I started training and eventually got down to about 1640. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, you proved me wrong. Well done." And I think
Oh my
that's
God.
I think that's what motivates me a lot of the time is like people are like, "Oh, you probably can't do that." And I'm like, "No, I can do that. I'm gonna try, give it a go." And they use that against me. They're like, if they want me to do something like a team time trial, they're like, "Nah, it's because you can't do it. That's why you don't wanna that's why you don't wanna do it." And
So
I'm like,
you're
"I'll show
crap at
you."
peer pressure. You always buckle under peer pressure.
Exactly.
I'll take notes for that.
Yeah. Um Yeah, that's how I got into. I did another event, I think coast to coast in a day up north.
Yeah, yeah.
I know we're jumping around here, but that's also 240-kilometer on the road. But through Peak District, like really big hills, very hilly route. But that was purely peer pressure. Some guy was like, "Yeah, somebody's pulled out, and we need a good cyclist. Could you fill in?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll suffer for you guys." Only had about 2, 3 weeks to train for that one, so it was like just again a horrible experience.
And
But
so
yeah, we
talk
got
to me a
through it.
bit about that, the coast to coast, because there's one in New Zealand. I actually interviewed a girl who'd done it before Briar, and she the coast to coast was it was like a run, a cycle, a trail run, a kayak, a cycle, and a run, and then maybe another cycle. It was
Yeah.
like changing around. It was like a 2 day thing.
Okay.
Across south of New Zealand. So is this like a relay situation? Is this all on your ones? Is it just cycling? Is it just running? Or is it both?
Yeah, this is just cycling, and it's from a little town called Seascale, directly across the country to Whitby. It's another little coastal town. 160 miles. And again, through the Peak District, like you go up Hard Knot Pass, which touches 32% gradient, and there's a couple other hills along the way that touch 30% gradient. And my bike was not set up for those gradients. I think I had a 23 cassette at the back. So I was like, I had to go fast up the hills. I had no choice. I was going to be
No.
walking. Yeah, so it was a grueling race. Again, we had a few guys in the. You basically have to start with I think 12 people, and then finish with a minimum of like 6 riders or something like that. Um,
In your group.
yeah, in that particular
Right.
category. So
Interesting.
it's a bunch of us that started, but we all decided we'd all finish together. So start together, finish together. The whole group of I think it was like 10 of us.
I
Um,
love that. I love
so
that.
yeah, that was I can recommend it. It's a very very tough challenge. But yeah, a very cool race.
Yeah,
Coast to
I
coast.
might have to have a look at that. And then so after that, and then obviously we're in the UK now. So then you did Pozan half Ironman, right, in 2024. You did the Valencia Marathon, and then you did London Marathon. You had an Everest attempt as well. I want to hear a bit more about that. And then there's just the list goes on and on. So like, what like, out of what I've just said there, like what would be a good thing to focus on? Because otherwise, we're going to be here for like 3 hours just talking about all the
I know
madness that you've done.
all the stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. This Ironman, the whole it was a half Ironman, it wasn't a full Ironman. Poznan was, you know, I was sort of intrigued by it. A lot of my friends had done half Ironmans, and they were like, "Oh, you should really give it a go because, you swum, you cycle, you run." So that was always in my head. I was like, I need to at least try it. Um, and that was good enough for me to, enter. And yeah, I don't regret it at all. It was a really good event, really good route, well organized. I can definitely recommend for anyone who wants a fast half Ironman. Again, like yeah, because of the job and everything, and uh, all my socializing, I probably didn't train as much as I should have. I think that swim on the day was about my eighth time training for a swim in about 3 years. So,
Jesus.
yeah, and the first time I put on a wetsuit as well, which was hilarious.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah, but yeah, it was fine. Got around in an okay time. I think just over 5 hours.
Nice.
Um, 5:04, I think it was.
Literally just over
Um,
five. Very nice.
yeah, with very minimal training. So it's definitely something I want to do again and try and break the 5 hour barrier. Try and do a quick time, I think.
Well,
Also had normal handlebars on my bike. I didn't have the full tri setup. I just rode on my road bike. So
oh,
I think
that's 20 minutes right there,
it helps a bit to have a proper setup.
100%. Well, look, and this is just because I heard you say this. I'm putting together a team. There are 4 people that want to do Copenhagen Ironman 2027, full Ironman.
Nice.
My mother said that she would banish me from the family if I do another full one because it's too much pressure on her. So I'm thinking about doing the half. So if you do want to join the crew, then Copenhagen 2027
Nice.
August. I'll be up for
That
that.
would be pretty good. I would be up for another half. That would
Cool.
be great.
We can go head to head. I think I'll lose.
I don't know. It depends on how life is at the time, how much training I get in.
Bullshit. It's how much socializing you're doing.
Yeah, we can do the socializing together so that we're on the same page.
No, you'll definitely
Um,
just try and shark me, and then you'll get up at 6 in the morning, and then you'll go and do the session whilst I'm lying in bed going, I can't get up.
yeah. Um, Gosh, yeah. So that was a really amazing event. I really enjoyed it. Definitely keen to do another. Um, and then, yeah, some of the other things, the Everest thing was back in South Africa. I did give that a good go, but again, just undertrained. So you're probably picking up a theme here. Lack of training and doing these ridiculous uh, body crushing events.
Get
But
into
yeah,
it.
that was still a respectable, I think, 6,000 meters of climbing and about 185K um, route on about 3 rides in leading
Oh,
up
I
to that
see.
event.
Oh, I
So
see. So it wasn't actually in the Himalayas. This was
no, no, no. This
trying
was just
to ascend
pick a
the height.
hill and just ride it as many times as you reach the altitude of Everest. And I think,
Truth.
to be honest, I think I picked the wrong hill. It was just too far and not enough gradient, and just ended up racking up the miles. But then, yeah, I mean, no hard feelings. I was just giving it a bash to see how I would get on. Uh, I think, yeah, I don't get too put down if I don't finish, just pick myself up and do something else. Um,
Yeah, makes sense.
yeah,
I like that.
don't think about it too often. Just move on to the next event, I think is the best approach. Um,
So what were you most out of everything that you've done, and this is becoming quite the CV. What's the sort of one event that maybe is like your marquee event? It sort of just stands out. You're really proud of whatever you accomplished there. Like, what was that? What was that one event?
I think for me it was the marathon, even though it's not like crazy endurance. Well, some people might argue it is. It depends who you are, I guess. But like,
I think
there's people
anyone
out
would
there
say
doing
it's crazy
200,
endurance.
crazy 200-kilometer desert runs and things like that. But um, yeah, I think for me, the marathon is the most memorable and sweetest moment for me because I got to London and I was like of the mindset that I would never do a marathon. I was just like, absolutely not. I'm not running a marathon. It's too far. And I went to watch London Marathon um, for the first time. I think it was I'm trying to think when it was, probably 2017. I went to watch it, and that just changed my whole outlook. I was like so sort of moved by that I was like, wow, I already think I need to do a marathon. Even now, I'm like getting emotional about it. It's crazy. Um, Thinking back. So yeah, I think that sort of motivated me to like be like, yeah, I need to do this. I have to do it. So I entered pretty much shortly after that, Paris Marathon. Um, that was 2018 Paris Marathon, and I ran that, and I think I did a 2:53 there for my first marathon. Um, and I was like very chuffed. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting to go sub 3. And looking back at the training, because I know I was going to do this podcast, I had to look back, and my longest week was 55 kilometers, and then it was going down to about 30 kilometers a week before. So just not really training how I should have been training. And a lot of my mates said, mate, like if you put a decent stint of training in, you'd probably run a good marathon. So on that time, I got a good for age entry into London Marathon. Um, so I entered that. And yeah, I just put in the graft, 5, 6 days a week of running. My friend Adam Lipschitz, he helped me with the training plan for that. He's a very good marathon runner. I think I mentioned him to you before. He runs a 2:08 something marathon. So yeah, just crazy, crazy guy. Um, so yeah, he helped me with the training plan, and then I just chipped away and just focused on that. I didn't do any 10Ks or 5Ks. I just focused on the marathon, and then ran a 2:39, which, I crossed the line. I think I burst into tears because I was so happy. So yeah, that was 2021, I think, London Marathon. And yeah, I was broken. I had to lie on the floor for about 10 minutes after that. Just every ounce of energy just sapped from my body. I remember just being in pieces, but I knew then that I had done it properly. I had nothing left to give, so I was like, yeah, that was good. Um, and
Left
then
it all
similar
out
for
there.
the, yeah, exactly. And similar for the next year, sort of tried to do the same again, but I had a bit of trouble with like some, not injuries, but just small niggles, so I had to dial back the training a bit. Um, but yeah, managed to then run 2:38, which was shaving a minute off. But again, just because the training didn't go as planned, I was probably even more happy with that result because, I was really, really, really broken at the end, like more so than I was the year before.
And
Just
so
completely
both
spent.
times were in London. Sorry, so you ran
Yeah,
London twice, right?
yeah, it was
Jesus.
it was when they moved it to the October time, so you could train over the summer, which for me I prefer. I prefer training over the summer as, training over winter. I just really struggle in the cold, uh, especially with like just tight muscles and things.
Yeah.
So
Plus
for
being
me,
a
summer
Durban boy.
training, yeah, exactly. I'm used to those tropical temperatures. So yeah, I think again, like approaching the finish line, seeing that I was going to make it, yeah, getting super emotional about that as well, and crossed the line and was just a shell of a human. I was so broken. But I knew I couldn't have gone any faster. So
Oh well,
that was
mate.
just such a good feeling, knowing that you've left it all on the road.
Well, look, congratulations because and just to go back a little bit, Paris Marathon, that's ridiculous as your first marathon. I remember my first marathon was pretty much double that. No, not quite, but it was just over 4 hours, and I was absolutely fucked. And I was just like, I'd much rather not do another marathon. And then since then done a couple of ultras and marathons and whatnot. But then you just went faster, like a lot faster. But to shave time off in that particular region is ridiculous. So the fact you went 2:52 or whatever in Paris, and then you went down to 2:39 is insane. So where I want to go back a little bit with is the moment sounds like you just got completely absorbed by watching the London Marathon, and that was the moment that went in your head because you said earlier that you're never really much of a runner. Then you did a half, and you were broken after that, and then you
Yeah,
claimed that a marathon wasn't endurance, but you said that you were broken after a half. So I
yeah,
can understand where your brain is because you're trying to make things small, which is a great way to conquer endurance. So
yeah.
what what did you feel in that moment when you were watching the London Marathon and you're seeing all of these runners come past? What was the feeling? What was the emotion that you were feeling and that just drove you to sign up?
Yeah, it was quite astounding because it was such a sudden. realization that I was almost like shocked. I was in a state of
I need to do
shock.
this.
Like how did I go from zero, not wanting to do it, to it was kind of disbelief. I was like, wow. I think probably just seeing how much support other people are pouring into people they don't even know, like got me thinking, wow, like I really want to feel that love from like other people. Um, I think that's the only way I can explain it, really.
Yeah. You just wanted a piece of the pie, you wanted to get
Yeah,
involved, you want to soak up the atmosphere, and you said earlier, with the Ironman, and I completely agree, they're incredible events, but you have that same sort of emotion. I imagine, I've not actually been to London Marathon or done it myself, but you have people that don't even know your name, but they read it on
yeah,
on your bib, right, and they go on Edwin, and you're like,
yeah.
you're sort of checking. Makes
It's
you
a
run faster
feeling
too.
that it's a hard, it's impossible to describe. It's just like pure elation, like feeling that. I mean, not just being a part of the crowd is one thing. You still feel it. That's what changed my mind, right? Like being there just changed my mind instantly. And I've seen it change other people's minds, people that don't want to even run, let alone like do a race. They don't even want to run. And then they go there. And then now all of a sudden they want to enter a 10K or a 21K from nothing. It's the power that that event has. Um, and I think that just I needed to feel that. And when I did the race during, I honestly think that's what pulled me to such a good time. Part of the reason was that you just feel the energy and you're like it's pulling you along. It's like it's an incredible feeling. It would be
That's
a
so.
shame, not to live that in your lifetime. I would recommend like if anyone can get like, an entry or just experience that, it's like it's next level. Um,
But you've done Paris and Valencia as well. Were both marathons, but London obviously twice. Just can't compare London to the other two, or
Yeah, I think London is in a sort of category of its own. You've got like 5 or 6 rows of people deep, for 42 kilometers. It's pretty insane. Like you can't find a spot to stand. That's how crazy it is. Paris was good, but you go through like for me, you go through patches where it's like maybe a handful of people. And those are the dark times where you're then just hearing your own breathing, you're looking ahead, you're looking around, you're like, oh my gosh, like, am I going to keep my pace, my splits? Um, you forget about all of that when there's such a roar of the crowd, like, and you focus on your splits and that's it, and then just drawing in the crowd.
so
Um,
it's almost like it's a tunnel vision in a way, but the tunnel is an audio track that just sort of gets behind you and drives you forward. But then I would also think, Christ, I'm loving this so much, and everyone's cheering for me and everyone else that I'm running this with. I think I would kind of forget about splits, pacing, hydration, breathing, all of that stuff
yeah,
that you need. Did you find that, or were you just I don't know? Did you find that it sort of narrowed your field of vision and concentration down to just two main things?
yeah, I still, I had my plan, I had my 7 gels stuffed around my body, um, and I knew when I needed to take them. So, I'd planned it meticulously. So I just, if you have a solid plan, you just sort of do it by instinct. You just grab the gel, you start eating it, you grab the water from the water table. Um, I wasn't relying on people on the side to hand me stuff because it's too risky. So I was just planning on using the water that they give out, which, for me, that works. Not, it doesn't work for everyone. Um, but yeah, I just had a solid plan and stuck to that. Had the plan written on my arm in Sharpie,
Sharpie,
like
yeah.
when I had to take the gel. So it was quite easy to sort of not lose that uh, plan. Um, but then I did Valencia some time later, and that was one where I fell to pieces again, just because I hadn't done much training. Um, and I was more just doing it to just do a marathon, like have a bit of fun. although it wasn't very fun because I hit the wall at about 32 kilometers.
No.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the difference between like a big marathon where you have crowds and just a training run or something like that is, had that happened to me during training, I would have just stopped. But you hit the wall, and honestly, I felt like I could have just walked, but again, the crowd just kept me jogging, kept me going, to hang on just long enough to make it to the end. But there's no ways I would have been able to make it to the end if I didn't have that support of the crowd.
Massive.
There's a video my friend posted on Instagram for my birthday with me crossing the finish line there, and it looked like I was in absolute pieces. It was hilarious. I was just a broken man. I was like, please just get me home. I don't want to be here anymore. It was just so bad. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad for it. I know I don't, I know I was sort of expecting it, to be honest, with the lack of training towards the end. Um, so yeah, I think I'm quite good at not beating myself up about like doing badly at an event. Just, you know, 1 + 1 = 2. If you don't train, you're gonna suffer.
Well,
And
I'm
maybe
happy
you
you've learned
might.
that now, because you put yourself in a lot of positions to learn that, and actually that kind of brings me quite nicely on to on a segment that I really want to get into a little bit about is there are so many people out there that have motivators and extrinsic, intrinsic. It doesn't necessarily matter. But what is your why? Like, why did you start from such a young age? Why did you feel that you had a fire under your ass to just get out there and do stuff? And then you got this like addiction to going in super underprepared for these ridiculous endurance challenges that, I mean, like now you're probably thinking, well, no, I need to train. Now you've gotten older and wiser, but you just went in blind. What is it within you that just goes, yeah, blind optimism? I can do this.
Yeah,
That
why do
drives
I
you.
torture myself?
Yeah. Is that just
Um,
all South Africans or?
yeah, I think it was burned into me from a young age, to be honest. Like, parents are busy, like you need to keep yourself occupied, do team sports, do the running, and it builds in us, that element of like either that competition, that drive to improve yourself and to beat others. For me, I think it was more improving myself because, I was really chuffed with fourth or fifth position. Like, if I didn't get first, it wasn't the end of the world. I wasn't like that person who was like, obviously it's great, I think I've only ever won a single race in my whole life, a cycling race. Um, and I didn't even know I had won. There was a breakaway up the road, and I thought we hadn't caught them. And on the last climb, I was sort of attacked because I was like, oh, I'm still going to get fifth. That's a great position. And then everyone just started screaming at me, and I was like, what the hell is going on here? Why are people screaming at me? And just sort of went harder, and they're like, you've won the race. So I was like, what the hell? I was like, obviously I was really chuffed, but that wasn't my primary goal. It was just to do well and to better my position from the last time I did the race. Um, and I've always just wanted to compete against myself, um, and see what I'm capable of. I think that's the why. I think
Mm,
it's just to see what I can do with my body.
mm.
Um, Even though I might not be prepared, it's probably not the brightest thing to do, but I'm like, can I do it? And I do it, and then the next time I do it even better. I'm like, I know what to expect now. Um, and I think, I'm just in a fortunate position because I got like a long history of, sport, and the muscles are not like coming from zero. Um, I should probably take a slightly better approach, but I think I just enter these things and I'm like, let me just see what I can do. And then I'm like, oh, that wasn't, it could have gone worse. And then I do it again and I, shave 4 hours off my time. Um, Crazy, crazy, weird tactic, but I think
Crazy weird life, and I love it. I love it. And so with that, like, are you? do you feel that, and I completely understand what you're saying, because you want to, you'll be on your deathbed and you'll be like, right, I have given it like a seriously good crack here.
Yeah.
I've got so much stories, so much pain that I've gone through. I've really lived life, and I love that, right? That is so cool, and you wanted to see what the human body is capable of, which is genuinely marvels me. Like, it's actually insane. But with the with the motivation, when you're in those dark places, like you said in Paris, when there were, a handful of people there, the dark moments, where does your mind travel to, and what do you draw? Where do you draw motivation from?
It's a tough one, I think, because I sometimes when you're on the limit, like me in particular, I don't know if everyone gets this or if it's just me, but I literally go through these, I call them like meditation patches. I normally get it with when I'm doing interval training, like you're doing 8 by 1 kilometer or whatever, and you have to hold 320 a kilometer for that kilometer. Um, and literally all I can think about is like that split and nothing else. I don't think about life. I don't think about my problems. I don't think, and it's just like a blank patch. Um, I think to give you an idea, I didn't see the Eiffel Tower during Paris Marathon, and we ran right past it. So I don't know what it is. For me, it's like a blackout, where I'm so focused on hitting the split and just pushing through the pain. All I'm thinking is you have 3 seconds. You need 3 seconds off the split. That's all you need, and keep running, keep pushing. And then check the split. Like, okay, you're okay, you're okay. Focus on the next one. Like literally every kilometer as it comes. So much so that I just blacked out and I didn't even see the Eiffel Tower, which was right next to me. I was like, did we run past it? And people are like, mate, we literally ran past the Eiffel Tower. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even see it. Like, I kid you not. I had friends in London Marathon like annoyed at me. They're like, didn't you see us? I was like, I'm sorry, like I didn't see you at all.
I'm
Um,
never going to come and watch you race a race, by the way, because
and
it's
I
not going to
think,
be
yeah,
appreciated.
I
I'll
think,
turn
well,
up at the finish line.
there are times where like someone will shout at you and like get through the crowd, and then it'll break that sort of concentration, and then you'll notice them. You'll be like, oh wow, like hello. Um, but like I don't know. It's I'm sure other people get this. It's almost like you said in the beginning, like a tunnel vision. Like
Mm.
you enter this meditation zone where it's you're not thinking about anything else but the kilometer you're in. I have big patches like that in the race where I'm like that. Um, it's normally the first, I would say between 12 and 21K um, is where I struggle a bit,
Mm.
and then after like 24K,
You're in the
uh,
groove.
24 to 30K, I'm like, okay, this is either going to go well or going to go badly. Um, uh,
So would you say
and
that meditative state, right? Would you say that that's addictive? Is that what you're chasing? Are you
I think
chasing
it
the
is.
success within that state, or are you running from the failure
Yeah,
of
there's
not being able to
obviously
achieve?
there's things like you go for a zone 2 run or whatever, um, and you're able to think about like your life and your problems and whatever. And if I've gone through difficult times in my life and I go for a long run, by the end of it, it's like the papers that were scattered all over the room are all in neat piles, and like everything makes sense, and I know what I need to do. That's like a zone 2 long run. So that is what I enjoy about it, and that
Yeah.
keeps me doing more running. Even though it's quite difficult, like to go for like an hour or two, it's quite, monotonous, but I know that I'm going to get that clarity at the end. Um, and I want that feeling. So that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is the painful, shorter intervals where I'm in that state, and I'm just so happy that I was able to run that speed. Like let's say I do 320s, 8 times 1 kilometer. I get to the end and I'm like, I actually managed to do it, and I feel so happy with myself. that I just finished it. Like, I don't know, it's like those long endurance events. I just finished it, and that is addictive to me. Like being able to finish something that I planned and I said that I was going to do. Um, because if you've planned something and you set out to do something and you fail, sometimes you can feel a bit bleak. You're like, oh, I'm gonna have to try again. But I do. I'll try again, and then I'll hit that 8 by 1 kilometer, and I'll be really chuffed. I'll be like, wow, that was a good session. Um, I
No, I
want to
love
do it
that.
again when I'm recovered. Like it's yeah. I
I,
do crave
I, I,
that.
I sit right there with you on the active therapy side. That's what I call it. Getting
Yeah,
out there, get it with cycling, running, swimming, hiking, all of that stuff. Because you're out in nature, environment's changing all the time, but you do have a fundamental job to do. Right, it
yeah,
can get monotonous, but then when you're bored, you get creative, and when you're
yeah,
creative, your mind wanders. But then also helps you organise like you say, that was a great analogy. The papers scattered everywhere, and then when you come back home, they're in nice files, and I love that.
yeah,
Where I'm trying to get to is probably the addiction on doing the splits, if I'm completely honest. But and
yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
this brings me quite nicely onto a question that I want to ask you is with all of this ongoing, you have the active therapy side, you also have the addiction to going into a horrible place where lots of people don't want to train. Like lots of people don't want to do the intervals because it's really
Yeah,
hard. It sucks. You feel, your legs are super heavy. You feel sick sometimes.
yeah,
You've got the lactic in your mouth and you can't breathe
yeah.
properly. So what's beyond the finish line? When does this end for you? Is there an
I
end? Will
think
you die doing this? like,
I think I'm I wouldn't say I am fortunate that I had the cycling origins, and I think that's where it started, right? Because in a cycling race, if you get dropped, your race is finished. You might have 50k left to go, but in reality, your race is done, finished. Tour de France, you drop off the peloton, you're out, like you're out of the rankings. It doesn't matter. It's it's that knowing that when I was younger meant that I had to hold on for dear life, like in a race. You had no choice but to push yourself. I remember having a race where my heart rate was like 208 for 5 minutes, something like that. And I was hanging on for like something like that crazy. It was old heart rate monitors at the time, so I don't want to, maybe it was a bit inaccurate, but basically my heart rate was
through the
redlining
roof.
it for like,
Yeah.
there was an attack and I'm hanging on the back for dear life, and you have no choice because you know that if you lose that wheel, your race is finished, done. You're not going to place. You're going to have to try again next time. So, you know, being able to claw and hold on, I think, and suffer so much helped me now with like this, with that interval training and everything. And weirdly, some of my friends would come, up to me at the end of a race and being like, "How do you like sprint like that right at the end?" Because they would often like run with me, and at the end of a 10K, you're pushing, redlining it, and then I go, and like, how are you able to like get through that, the lactic and like that feeling? And I think it comes from way back when I was racing, like clinging on, able to like hone that skill and like just sprint the last bit of the race. Some people have it, I think, naturally. Um, they can just dig deep and pull through, but other people are like, how do you train for that? And I'm like, you need
Got to
to suffer
got to
in the
go to the
training.
dark places. Got to
You have
go
to
there.
do that, 400 meters, and the last one needs to be, the fastest one. Um, and you're gonna eventually get to that place where you've got nothing left, but somehow your body pushes through. One of the best runs you can do is the progressive tempo. That's all my friends refuse to do it, and I'm like, and I'm trying not to be arrogant here, but like my marathon time is very good in my group of friends, one of the best, and they're like, what can we do? And I'm like, you need to do the progressive tempo, which is like 33K run, starting at whatever 450 a kilometer, but the last 3 kilometers is at 325s. And you're burning down, 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 down all the way to the end. But somehow you need to run the last 3K at like 330s or whatever, 320s. And they refuse. No one wants to do that. And like, well, if you want the time, that's what you got to do. You got to get to that final horrendous moment where you're really, really struggling to hold the pace, but somehow your body is just carrying you forward.
Mm.
Like I honestly felt like my body was shutting down, but my legs were still going at the end of that run. And I think, yeah, it's just your body adapts. And but you unfortunately you have to do those really tough sessions that nobody wants to do to get to that dark place to train for it.
So do you see yourself ever concluding on this crazy endurance journey, or do you think you're going to be that 65-year-old guy that's lining up for his 15th Ironman sort of thing? Where do you see yourself in the future?
I think my it was my uncle or somebody said to me like, "Oh, wait till you get to your mid to late 30s. You're gonna get a beer belly and you're gonna be like unfit and all this stuff." That was like whatever 15 years ago, and I vowed I was like, I will never, I will never be like that. So yeah, I think I'm gonna be that 70-year-old man who's still on his bike cycling Richmond Park laps.
I love it, mate.
Um,
And look,
yeah.
I genuinely hope that it continues. And I don't really see you as a beer belly kind of guy anyway. Even though you do love the piss, it's not gonna impact your health long term,
Yeah.
or you're not going to allow it to anyway. It will, because that's the literal nature of alcohol. But mate, look, I really appreciate this time as well. It's been so interesting listening to your story, and I knew a little bit before, but going into the weeds about the London Marathon, the cycling, like your school days, like I hope everyone listening has found it really, really interesting. And also, if you're ever training for an event, or you haven't done enough training, let me know, because I could definitely help with that. I think you've probably gotten a bit wiser, but I'm on hand. I can do that. But
Yeah.
look, mate, I've got a closing tradition, and it is nearly 8 o'clock on a bloody school night here. So I want to ask you a question, and I'm gonna use the London Marathon because I feel like that had the most emotion around it. And the closing tradition is, if the London Marathon had an anthem, a song that sort of encapsulates all of the feeling that you felt during that race and afterwards, what would that song be and why?
Gosh, a tricky one. I think one of the marathons. I don't know if it was London Marathon. This is so weird. The song did pop into my head, and it got stuck in my head. Was do you know "Lose Yourself" by Eminem?
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, I still listen to it. From probably started too young listening to that stuff, but yeah, I think "Lose Yourself" was a good one for me.
Mate, that's an
Lose yourself in the
absolute
moment. And
classic.
yeah, exactly. And I think it got stuck in my head during one of the marathons, but I didn't mind. I was like, yeah, this is a good song to be stuck in my head,
Hell yeah,
and
man. That's like that was kind of
kept
like
pushing me through.
our first walkout song when we were schoolboy rugby. We always thought, getting out there,
Yeah,
getting G'd up in the change room. I love that song. It's a great song. If you've not listened to it, go and listen to it now. But mate, again, so grateful for you hopping on and sharing your story. If people want to follow you, follow your journey, follow your Strava, where are you, and where can they find you?
yeah, I am on Instagram, just Edwin_Mooney. Don't post too much there, just the stories, like the cycling stories and stuff. And then I do have an Instagram. Instagram, said that already. I do have a Strava. It's just also Edwin Mooney, where I post all my rides and stuff with the guys and my running stuff as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Um, yeah, so yeah, no, looking forward to it. Definitely keen to join you for some training as well.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we'll definitely link up. And hey, look, just for now, thank you again, and yeah, we'll speak soon. All right,
Yeah, cheers.
cheers, mate.
Bye.